She was more than just a movie star. Claudia Cardinale represented an icon of beauty, strength, and resilience. Born in a distant land, a Tunisia colonized by France, she became the face of Italian glamour. But her journey in cinema was not a straight line. She faced pain, personal challenges, and achieved the impossible. And when her life seemed peaceful, she was called to say a final goodbye, leaving both cinema and the world in tears. But what truly makes Claudia Cardinale a legend? Let's find out. Claudia Cardinale was not born under the spotlight. She emerged from the heat of the streets of La Goulette, a small port town in Tunisia, where her name was an undiscovered promise. Daughter of Sicilian emigrants, Claudia grew up in a simple environment, but with a vision of the world that would take her far. At 17, Claudia's youth and beauty caught everyone's attention when she was crowned the most beautiful Italian girl in Tunisia, a title that would become her passport to a cinematic career that would mark generations. This contest was not just about beauty, it was the first step toward the destiny that Claudia was about to embrace. At the time, she didn't know, but that moment of recognition would cause her to be seen by one of cinema's greatest powers, Italy. In 1957, a trip to Venice during the film festival changed the course of her life forever. She was discovered by a scout who quickly realized there was more than just appearance in that face. In a film market hungry for new stars, especially during a golden age for European cinema, Claudia was quickly catapulted into the spotlight. However, she was not just a beauty queen. Claudia Cardinale possessed a magnetic presence, an innate charisma that didn't limit her to the role of a muse. She wanted more, and she would be more. Her early career in cinema was marked by smaller roles, but it was her performance in Le Soliti Ignoti, 1958, that made her stand out. Directed by Mario Monicelli, the film placed her in a comedic setting with a touch of social criticism, showing that Claudia was not just a pretty face, but an actress with great potential. From there, her name began to be associated with the greatest directors in Italian and international cinema. But what truly defined her early success was her ability to choose roles that didn't limit her to being just a seductive figure. Claudia sought complex characters that reflected a reality beyond aesthetics, and she did this with impressive naturalness. She refused to be just a beauty symbol, instead becoming an artist capable of bringing depth to the roles she portrayed. The big turning point in her career came in 1963, when she was cast in the lead role in 8½, one of Federico Fellini's greatest classics. Claudia's ability to handle a multifaceted character in a film already considered one of the greatest in cinema history solidified her position as one of the top actresses of the time. In a film that is a true reflection of the creative process itself, Claudia stood out for her enigmatic presence, transforming from muse to an actress with her own voice, capable of bringing life to roles as deep as they were challenging. It was undoubtedly Italian cinema that helped shape Claudia Cardinale, but it was her own daring spirit that catapulted her to stardom. She was not content to be just a star. She wanted to be an actress, and it was this ambition that turned her into a legend. From her arrival in Venice to the role she portrayed in the greatest cinematic classics of the world, Claudia Cardinale was not just a star that shone. She was the force that made the shine eternal. The name Claudia Cardinale is synonymous with the golden age of European cinema, especially Italian cinema. She not only shone on screen, but became a symbol of a broader cultural movement, in which aesthetics and content intertwined to redefine the standards of what a film could be. In the 1960s, Italy was experiencing a period of great cinematic effervescence, and Claudia was at the epicenter of this cultural revolution. At the beginning of her career, Claudia was cast in roles that explored the complexities of women in Italian society. Her debut in films like I Soliti Ignoti, 1958, showed her not only as a beautiful young woman, but also as an actress capable of embracing more challenging roles with great emotional depth. But it was alongside giants of cinema like Fellini, Visconti, and Leone that Claudia established herself as an actress who could balance sensuality and emotional intensity in a unique way. In 1963, Eight and a Half by Federico Fellini not only consolidated her image as a muse, but also positioned her as an actress capable of transcending physical beauty and delving into the psychological complexity of her characters. Playing a character who is both an object of desire and a metaphor for the director's own creative process, Claudia Cardinale became one of the brightest stars in the history of cinema. Fellini's film is a masterpiece that explores the search for identity and the creative crisis, and Claudia's presence is one of the highlights of this introspection. But it was in 1963 that Claudia truly became a global icon. In El Gatto Pardo, The Leopard, by Luchino Visconti, she played the young and passionate Angelica, a role that required her to deliver a performance of great delicacy, balance, and a deep understanding of the complexities of the aristocracy and social change. The film, based on the novel by Giuseppe Tomasi di Lampedusa, was not just a historical adaptation, but a reflection on the decline of a social class amidst a rapidly changing Italy. Claudia brought freshness and humanity to her character that surpassed the limits of the storyline, making the film, considered one of the greatest in cinema history, not just a grand epic production, but a profound emotional and intellectual experience. The film not only captured the transition from old to new in Italy, but Claudia became the visual metaphor for that transformation, representing the younger generations poised to take power. In 1968, Claudia was once again challenged by a role that became a milestone in her career, Jill McBain in C'era una volta il West, Once Upon a Time in the West, by Sergio Leone. In a film that was already a masterpiece by one of the greatest spaghetti western directors, Claudia brought to life a complex character with unique vulnerability and strength. She was not just the damsel in distress, but the embodiment of a woman who fights against her own limitations and finds her strength in adversity. Leone, one of the boldest filmmakers of his time, recognized in Claudia's talent the ability to bring to life a character who could have been a mere victim of circumstances, but in her hands became a woman of action, capable of changing the course of history. Her presence in the film was so striking that even among the many well-known names who participated in the production, Claudia stood out as one of the most iconic stars. Claudia Cardinale was not just an actress who shone in great productions, but she was also one of the first women to transition between different genres of cinema, from historical dramas to westerns and comedies. Her versatility made her a constant presence on screen and earned her respect not only from Italian filmmakers but also from Hollywood directors and filmmakers around the world. Through her ability to balance physical beauty with emotional depth in her roles, Claudia Cardinale redefined the role of women in cinema. She was not just a decorative figure, she was a creative force in her own right. She became a muse not only for her appearance, but for her ability to convey complex and multifaceted emotions with impressive naturalness. Her cultural impact was not limited to the silver screen, but resonated across all areas of popular culture, from fashion to activism. Slowly, Claudia Cardinale transformed into a true icon, not only of Italian cinema, but of a global cultural movement. She represented the pinnacle of European glamour, but also brought with her the complexity of women of the time, with her struggle for emancipation, for her own voice, and for her right to be more than just an object of desire. Despite the brilliance of her film career and the glamour that surrounded her, Claudia Cardinale's life was marked by deep personal challenges. Although her name was constantly associated with roles of strong and passionate women, she herself faced times of great vulnerability, such as her battle with abuse and trauma in her youth. Claudia was a victim of rape in her teenage years, a devastating experience that would change her life forever. The act of violence resulted in a pregnancy, but in an act of resistance and silence, she did not reveal to the world the identity of her son until years later. Patrick, who was introduced as her younger brother, was actually Claudia's son, the product of trauma that she never fully overcame. Throughout her life, the actress made a point of preserving the privacy of her pain, but over time, she became a fierce advocate for women who were victims of violence, raising her voice so that other victims would have the courage to speak out. Despite this suffering, Claudia never allowed it to define her. She faced her personal demons with quiet strength and sought independence through her career and activism. This period of her life served as a turning point, as after overcoming such experiences, she became one of the most respected figures in women's rights activism. Over the years, Claudia became a fierce advocate for gender equality and, in 2000, was appointed as a UNESCO ambassador, focusing on education and promoting women's rights worldwide. Claudia did not limit herself to being an advocate of speech, but turned her position as a cinema star into a platform for promoting significant social change. The actress was present at various events and campaigns, always with the mission of giving visibility to issues affecting women, such as workplace inequality and gender violence. In her own words, she said that her journey would not just be a quest for fame, but a continuous struggle for societal transformation. Her roles in cinema, especially the most emblematic ones, were an extension of her own fight. By portraying women who challenged conventions and who rose up in the face of adversity, Claudia brought the audience into her own vision of the world, a vision where women are not just seen as objects, but as active, transformative forces. She was a pioneer, stepping away from the stereotypes of submissive or fragile women and represented multifaceted, complex, and vigorous women. But like most great public figures, Claudia was not immune to the challenges of life off the screen. She suffered immense personal losses, including the death of her great love, filmmaker Pasquale Squitieri, with whom she had a long and deep relationship. Pasquale was her life partner and her greatest source of support throughout her journey. Losing him left a huge void in her life, but as always, Claudia moved forward, keeping her strength and dignity intact. Her later years were dedicated to both cinema and activism. Though her presence on the silver screen diminished, Claudia Cardinale's impact was in no way diminished. She became a mentor and an example of resilience, not just for new generations of actresses, but for anyone seeking strength in the face of adversity. Her legacy is not just in her body of work, but in how she used her visibility to positively influence the world around her. Claudia Cardinale passed away on September 23, 2025, at the age of 87, leaving behind a legacy that goes far beyond her films. She will always be remembered as a woman who made history in cinema, but more importantly, as a woman who turned her pain into strength, her visibility into activism, and her talent into a tool for change. Her name remains among the greatest legends of cinema, but it is her courage in the face of adversity, her immeasurable activism, and her lasting impact on the world of gender equality that will eternalize her as a true heroine, both in real life and on screen. And so, Claudia Cardinale was not just a movie star, she was an icon of strength, overcoming, and transformation. Her legacy goes far beyond the silver screen, and her life, full of challenges and achievements, continues to inspire generations. Today, we celebrate not only the actress, but the woman who used her visibility to promote equality and justice. If you were moved by Claudia Cardinale's story and want to learn more about the lives of other cinema legends, subscribe to our channel right now. Don't forget to activate notifications so you don't miss any of our videos about great names and inspiring stories. Like, share with your friends, and let us know in the comments what you admired most about Claudia's life. Your opinion is very important to us. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.